app.
Cool.
So iPhones and all the rage. Like having a phone with expandable memory and a headphone jack is like very hard to find. To find one that has all that stuff, because
Yeah, so is a carburetor and a horse that will pull your buggy, big guy.
Well,
Why don't you get up with the times?
I'm sorry.
Carburetors are pretty easy to find.
Yeah, they are. So, anyways, well, I can't just like take my headphones and plug it into my computer and listen to YouTube while I'm sitting there driving around, keeping America going. I can't do that. And so, like, I have my Bluetooth headphones, which work great, but I need to be able to have a backup headset in case my battery gets low, or I don't have my headphones or whatever. So I need to have a backup set. I need to have redundancy. You're sitting here like I'm in the F-22 Raptor. I'm out flying around.
The headphone jack really sucks. I
It
really
does.
bemoan that. But even the top Android phones don't have headphone jacks anymore.
Most of them don't, but you have to. There's still some of them that still support the working class in this country. But Robert's up here in his F-22, like, look at me, I'm the new stealth fighters. Like, you're never gonna get an air-to-air combat in your life. I'm the A-10 Warthog. I'm
Didn't
still
the F-35 just get lost in the South China Sea?
Yeah,
Aren't we trying to recover one as fast as possible before the Chinese get it and strip it
lost in the South China Sea.
Get back, you stupid Chinese. That's
You-
fine. We
you
spent
could
$35 million on this thing.
You could basically blow into a tube on that thing and be like, all right, we're taking you home, chief. And you're the pilot, just go like, okay. And then it just flies itself back. I mean, it has like all the avionics and all the positioning. Like, it's not lost. What happened was somebody what was his name? John Walsh's kid. John Walsh's kid was not lost.
This thing crashed onto the deck, and there were like 6 people. Like 3 people were medevaced.
Yeah.
Something like that. It wasn't good. It was
what you might call very suboptimal.
Yeah.
a cluster cuss.
But don't worry, we're going to lose a whole lot more when the United States goes to war with Ukraine for some reason. Because apparently, 20 years of war, we're just like an addict. Just one more hit, baby.
Don't worry. They'll only have all our stuff we left in Afghanistan to fight us back with, so we'll be fine with that. I mean, that's none of that sensitive equipment that was quote unquote lost won't be used against us. But anyways,
Oh, never.
never. Welcome to the PARAcast. That's right. Have fun with the apocalypse and waste your money on things like making loud sounds and feeling cool in front of your friends.
When Ryan was in the Marines, he said there's a special hammer that it's in every communications division that is just for destroying radios.
Yeah.
It's just a radio smashing hammer that you use as you evacuate, so they don't fall into enemy hands. It's probably a $4,000 hammer.
You know what? That was probably in like the technical package for the radio equipment. They're like, look, Jansen and Jansen radio systems over here. They're coming in with a lower bid, but this one comes with the hammer. How much more is it per unit? $2,000, but it has the hammer. And get this about the hammer: it's got a spike on the other end, and it's insulated.
And if you act now, it's got a special military version. It's got 2 little claws that will help you to remove things, like nails.
Like prying glass. Like, you know what? They probably had the hammer, but I remember, like, you watch, like, Black Hawk Down and stuff like that in other places where they're leaving whatever equipment they got to get rid of, and they're like, thermite grenade, and like, thermite, burn it to hell, burn it now. So you probably wonder who is like playing around is like, oh, look at the smoke grenade, and like throws a smoke grenade. It's like, it's not a smoke grenade. That wasn't the smoke grenade. That was a thermite grenade. Oh no!
Burn HQ to the ground.
That's one of the funny things is when you play like video games, like there's a game called Insurgency, and you can get thermite grenades, and all you do that is to prevent people from overtaking your position. So like there's a place where people can run in, and you just put a thermite grenade there and let it burn for 30 seconds because they can't run through it. And so you're just like, we're being overwhelmed, and like, thermite grenade to that door. Please don't come in. Anyways.
Don't you call an artillery fire on your current location?
Oh.
I want you to fire on my current location.
You do that too in Insurgency, where you're like, boys, get away from that side. Because the fun thing about Insurgency is like, there's a squad, and like one guy on the team is the team leader, and the other guy's the observer. And all the observers thing is to like stay by the team leader, and so you take out your little glasses and you call like, I want like an A10 strike on this point, and then you get back, and all the observer has to do is just stand there, and then he radios it in. But a lot of the new observers, what they'll do is they'll stand out in the alley and try to look at what you called in, then they get shot right in the head. And so you're just like, well, okay. Do we have another observer we can get over here? But yeah, you just call it airstrikes and everything. Anyways, joining me tonight, he's got an ass that won't quit, and he's here to talk about restless leg syndrome. It's Steve Koski.
Wow. I don't know how to combine those two topics off the top of my head. But I don't have RLS.
Well, isn't Robin getting like a ACL surgery from you kicking her in the leg all night? Bam, bam, bam.
Bam, bam, bam. No, that was from skiing.
She's got a hammer that she got from the Marines too to like swat back at Koski from kicking.
With a spike on the back.
Also, joining me tonight, he's the reason why rest stop restrooms are scary. It's Robert Wyatt.
What? You go in there once and somebody propositions you and you don't say no. What's the problem?
There's only one thing scarier than going into a rest stop bathroom. It's going into a rest stop bathroom with flip-flops. And
Actually, that's pretty true.
And he was touched by an angel, and now that angel's doing 15 years. It's Kenny Terry.
He's still my angel.
He'll be out in 7.
Good behavior, everybody. Anyways, all things that we did. I wanted. So I ordered that die from Dylan, and then while I was on the Dylan website, they had these little bad boys for sale for I think like $250. So I bought like 4 more of them. Just the blue regular 650, 70, 50 bin. And I tell you what, there's nothing like having.
Don't those things cost like 70 cents at like Harbor Freight or something like that?
Hold on a second.
Don't tell Tom.
Hold on a second. Well, I wanted the nice blue ones, and I had to fill out and make the $15 in shipping worth it.
I
got some Krylon.
Here's the mother bins right here.
What? That's the MOAB.
These are So these are what you take these and dump these into. See the difference is staggering there.
That's a bin for your bins.
These are the IKEA bins.
Yeah, so I call that what was it, a 1913 ammo can or something like that?
Yeah, so these are great when you go to swing by IKEA. Get a chocolate bar, get a hot dog, get some meatballs, and get one of these. You get a few of these because they're so great for processing. So you when you're resizing your 223 brass or you're trimming your 223 brass, you can write on these with a marker in input, output. And then when you're dumping your gigantic 45 caliber brass in here, this will take like 6 or 7 of these. These become incredibly heavy when you fill them up with 6 or 7 of these. But they're just great little reloading bins, and they're super cheap. So,
which brings me to a turning point in my life. I've now overfilled my second 5-gallon bucket full of range pickup ammo. It's now like I can't put any more. Like it just rolls down and falls off onto the floor. And so I don't know whether to start a third bucket or to get some therapy or what to do.
Well,
well, let's be honest. This is Koski, and he's gonna dollar cost this thing out. Adding a third bucket will be cheaper than therapy. So he's going to add a third bucket.
Okay. I can go with that.
I would. Well, listen, you got the engineering degree. This is what I say you do. I say you spend $10,000 on research and development, creating a press that sole purpose is to pull and process, like it decaps the brass, it pulls the bullet, then decaps the brass, and then saves those primers in a special bin. And it's got like a little case feeder that you can pour whole bullets in, and it safely drops them down. And then you sell that to Frankfurt Arsenal for $78,000.
We'll call it the Dylan negative 750, and you pair it with the Dylan 750. It takes apart the ammo, then it puts the ammo back together with a known charge. And it sorts the bullets by weight, and
if you can do it, you can automate it so that it becomes a perpetual machine. It just continuously unloads and reloads.
Oh, can you imagine
and
what the bullets and the brass and the primers would look like after a few rounds?
And the special edition comes with an incinerator for the powder. Oh. So it just drops the powder and it just burns it right there in front of you. So it looks cool too. So,
but I mean, the ultimate ghetto round would have a blend of all of your pistol pull down powder, just 4 grains of everything.
Yeah.
4 grains of blended powder.
Oh, you
under
know
a
what it
bullet of
could do?
unknown weight.
I got a Thompson contender. We can make this work.
It puts it in a canister that has a fuse on it. Homemade thermite grenade.
Thermite. Back to thermite.
Lets it bleed off a little bit. There you go. Need to get somewhere you're not supposed to? Use a homemade thermite grenade from your negative 750.
Right?
I can imagine all the shoulder injuries from people trying to pour the 5-gallon bucket of brass up into the case feeder. You know.
Yeah.
Just dying. So anyways, yeah, that happened. Got some bins. Got my A&R Beretta holster in. It was nice of them. So basically all the Berettas, you got to buy an M9A3 holster now if you want to fit all the newer type Beretta. So I got one of those. And then what else did I get? Loophole was very kind to me. In 2 days, they sent me a back cover plate. I called them up. All they want to do is know my name and my address, and they send it to me right away. So customer service from Loophole's fantastic.
What happened to your old back cover plate? Did you break it?
No, it didn't come with one.
Oh, gotcha.
So it came with the $100 rear iron sights on the back of it, which I kept. But
you didn't tell them about that?
well, I said I can't find the other one. But my front sight would have to be like that tall to co-witness with those irons. So I just asked them, do you have the plate? Because I'm tired of this thing looking ghetto. And they're like, oh, yeah, we got a plate. And so they just sent it to me. So very nice customer service from Loophole. Anyways, Robert, what'd you do?
What did I do? I did jack squat. No, I worked. I worked a lot. We had our 2 weeks ago. We had our indoor match, and that was fun. I enjoyed that. First stage, I shot a Delta Mike because I didn't actually look at the dot or at the target and put the dot onto the target. So
which one was the Delta? Would you over transitioning or under transitioning?
No, there was no dot. I hit a hard lean, and I'm like, there should be a dot here. Well, the clock's still ticking. Just send it.
Bang, bang.
Yeah. Sending it was not the correct course of action. But no, it was fun. That's not much this week, but I did enjoy it. I got my new sear and disconnector from John. He got those things cut for me and sent those. So I'll be rebuilding the 2 Shadow 2s. I'll probably rebuild the third one.
Why do they need reconstruction?
They don't, but it shortens the reset.
Okay.
Just a skosh. When I originally got these Shadow 2s back in 2017, I deliberately cut the disconnector long because I was afraid that I was going to torch a round off if it was really, really tight. Like you shot Kenny's guns. I mean, if you breathe on it, the gun goes off, right?
Yep.
And that's what I was kind of like, okay. But I've gotten to the point where I'm like, I feel a lot more comfortable with it. And so John down in San Diego, he cut a pair of them for me. He's got a lathe that'll do it all. So it'll reset a little bit tighter, and the take up isn't nearly as much. It's not really that big of a deal, but I had nothing else to do, and I need an excuse to actually tear the guns apart.
And if you're geeking out, you might as well geek out with John Bautista.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he is Mr. CZ. He knows everything there is to know about a CZ.
I thought that was you. Who knows more, you or John?
John. I learned everything from him.
After every once in a while, I'll kind of think about making my trigger lighter, and then that's about the time I see somebody send a shot over the berm, and then I'm like, you know what? I'm still good. I'll be okay for a little bit longer. So I had that experience a couple weeks ago, and so I'm still like, meh. I'll be okay. 3 pounds.
Sending one over the berm or watching someone send
watching someone send it over the berm with a telekinetic trigger, and so
I used to think
3.5, 4 pounds,
like
fine with me.
3.5 pounds was the lightest you should ever go, and anybody who went any lighter than that on a trigger was just asking to shoot somebody in the face. And just over the years, the trigger weight has crept down and farther down. And now it's like 2.5 pounds, and I've got one that's 2.25 pounds, and I'm like, this is about right.
It's fairly heavy.
That's yeah.
It is fun to watch someone roll into a shooting position and they've planted their first foot, and the gun goes off, and you're like, "Oh, that wasn't ready."
Yeah, well, this,
Like,
You always love that look. 'Cause it's that startled like, oh, keep going. They haven't stopped me.
I would still like to keep my never shot a round over the berm streak intact. You know, never done it. Still like not to do it. And
There's two ways to do that. You don't lighten up the trigger and don't shoot that much.
or you just don't put your finger on the trigger while you're moving around. So you could do that.
Well, you could do that, but you're now slower than everybody else. So
no, that's
basically
that's within the.
No, it's what JJ calls blending your shooting positions. You don't ever have to take your finger off the trigger if you're just constantly blending your way through.
I will never turn into a Seagull anti-aircraft vehicle. I will try not to do that. Anyways, Steve, you had a little revolver in your hand a second ago. What'd you do? What'd you get up to?
Brought it up. Just something to play with. While you
Oh,
guys are
cool.
talking. That my little Ruger Bearcat. But what I got up to was I went and shot that Wasatch pin and plate, but WPPC steel shoot,
yeah,
whatever
something like that.
WPPC stands for. On the fifth Saturdays around here, if there is a fifth Saturday, they have a steel match. And it was like pretty much the exact opposite of the matches out at the farm. Like there was not a single shot where you could just kind of point the gun at the target, just kind of index the gun.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And hit the target. I tried it a couple times and it didn't work out very well for me. They were all aim shots, and they were all. I mean, there were some terrifically hard shots where I had to take 2 or 3 shots to hit the edge of a plate or something like that they had behind a barrel. It was a fun match. It was challenging. We had some new shooters on our. We had a couple new shooters on our squad and so the new timers, when they communicate with practice score, you can see all their splits,
commanders
and
or whatever.
At the end, it'll have like their total number of shots in parentheses. And we regularly saw numbers in the 50s and occasionally in the 60s. And these are for, like 27, 28 round stages. So that tells you kind of the.
And sometimes that just makes for a long day.
Yeah, there was 5 stages. People shot plenty of ammo. I felt like I got my money's worth.
People are like, it's a new match. You come out there, it won't be that much ammo, and then people are just blowing 50 shots per stage.
I think there was about 5 or 6 people that shot iron sights. Because almost all carry optics open and PCC.
Yeah, gotta shoot those easy divisions.
I managed to come in 19th in the match, but I was first in iron sights, so that's kind of crazy. I felt like I really stunk it up, but I all the good people were shooting dots. Clearly, there was no competition at this match, and it's so different from shooting out at the farm where you're just blasting away at stuff and ringing the steel. This was like, no, you are going to press the trigger properly, or you will never hit this target because it's 4 inches by 4 inches. And it's 17 yards away.
Oh, jeez.
So good luck with your hosing there. You're going to have to line the sights up very well, use a proper grip, proper stance, and break the trigger cleanly.
Well, that's one of those things that's like where you start shooting, and then with your iron sights and with your dot, you have to remember, like, where do I have to hold on this 4-inch thing that far away to make the bullet go where I want? It's like, you start shooting like, okay, I hold at the bottom third of the plate, and then my bullet will hit it instead of, dead center or whatever. When you get that stuff that's small and that far away.
So it was a fun challenge. Not all the shots were that hard, but there were none of them that were just index. There was no index shooting at all in the whole match. Oh, I take that back. There were three big fat poppers on one stage. The other thing that was fun was they put on turned out to be our very last stage. They had a double Texas star, and you can only see like the bottom third of the star. They had wafer board.
Yeah.
up in front of it.
That was an awesome stage.
So yeah, you had some. It turns out at the end there was 6 or 8 other targets you had to shoot, and you have to clear this double Texas star. So you kind of shoot what you can on the star as quickly as you can, and then this is what I learned from the shooters ahead of me. Then you go and you shoot the other 8 pieces of steel down. Then that's given the star 10 seconds or something, 12, because you got to change positions a couple times. So the star is slowing down, and now you have a chance of hitting it again because it's going crazy because you've just shot the bottom, 2 or 3 plates off of each star. So they're whipping around, and so you're slowly getting them, and it's everyone just you're just watching everyone shoot, and you're just like, oh my god, they're never they're just
Hit
zooming
it.
by.
Hit it.
And so I got down to my last one, and
that's
it
the s-
rolled up about 8 or 10 inches into the plywood, and I'm like, I think it's right there, and it goes ding and falls off. It was pretty funny. It was a nice roar from the crowd, and it was the last shot of the day, so it made me
that's
feel good
awesome.
about a match that I otherwise felt like I was just shooting in tar. You watch everyone else shooting dots, and
Yeah.
I'm like, what is wrong with me? And
I-
then I hit that shot. I'm like, okay, that was fun.
If I had the 50 round PCC magazine, I would just like hold on the right side of that plywood and just tat 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 tat. Just consistent fire all the way through. You're gonna hit it.
I thought about doing the Bo Mason. Were you guys ever on that? You see Bo Mason? He
I've
shoot
seen
the
him
bottom plate on the
shoots
star,
bottom, and he just lets them all come into
and
it.
then he just aims at one place and then just breaks the trigger as they come by. And I was like, that would be a good plan for a stage like that. I thought about it, but then I could never put it into action. When it was time to shoot, my brain that just like disappeared from my
Well,
brain.
that's still the idea that you can see the speed in which the other plates are falling into it, not having them completely obscured, right? Because at that point you're like, well, how fast are they falling? It's like that fast, okay. And then it's like,
and then one comes from the other direction, and it distracts you.
Well, and then the other part too, it's like it's going to spin in a way that's going to have parts of the pattern missing because you already shot those.
Oh yeah,
and
it's
so you're like
random.
You're like
it's just
now
a random cluster cuss while you're.
Yeah, I'm ready. Okay, well that would, and then oh damn, that's how that works.
It was fun. People had a good time. A lot of people shot a magazine and a half there at 10 plates, but it was still a good time.
Right on, Kenneth.
Yeah, I didn't do crap. I shot the armor match with Robert. I no shoot, and then Mike no shoot the first two stages. So
what?
On the easy targets too. I mean, I guess you can still no shoot Mike like 4-yard targets.
Was this with your limited gun?
Yeah.
The trigger went off when you wanted it to, though, right?
Yeah, it went off when it was supposed to.
you weren't bump firing, or
no? I can't even pull a trigger that fast. So.
Okay.
No, and then this week I got ready for a PRS match next weekend. That's all I've done.
Right on.
PRS.
Precision Rifle Series.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Where do you shoot those?
This one's out in Blue Creek. I'm not exactly sure. Somewhere north. That's about all I know right now.
And give us the
Are you
nickel
going to
tour
somebody?
of what a PRS
Yeah.
match is. What gun?
Price.
What gun? What caliber? What
It's a
distances?
Savage 110 6.5 Creed and 200 to 1,200 yards.
200. 200 is the closest target.
Yeah.
I would just bring your ST. I would just bring your 2011. Like you're probably
Yeah.
quicker with the 2011 at 200 yards.
Yeah, except for like you can only shoot the number shots they tell you can shoot. And I'm not trying to bang 1,200 yards with a 40.
That would be pretty funny. Well, at least if they throw any, because I had a student back in the day. His name is Brady, and he's like, he came to me, and he's from the PRS world, and he's like, well, they're having us shoot like 10 pistol targets at the beginning of every stage before we can move and get into our rifle shooting. So whatever this place was that he was shooting, I was like, oh, okay. And so we did like a couple classes, and he got like better at it, and like it gave him like an extra 40 seconds because he said that like they would get there and like people were just having the damnedest time knocking down the pieces of steel with their handguns, and so it was like a whole different world. And so like what's funny is when you do all these one-on-one classes, people would have like you'd have them kind of shoot the targets before you would start teaching them, so you could kind of see what was happening. And a lot of the people that came from this were like, well, I'm much better with the rifle. And it's just like, well, duh. It's like, well, who isn't? Sassy.
Right.
So, but yeah, that'll be fun. You'll have to video some of it, Kenny.
I will. I'll have Bryce record my stuff.
So what's
just the shooting part, because I hear there's mostly sitting and a little bit of shooting. Well, I guess that's true of everything, but at least with a pistol match, you get to shoot 200 rounds.
Yeah, so the last couple PRS matches I've shot, there's a lot less waiting than USPSA.
Oh,
Just-
cool.
There's no reset, so in between shooters, like the shooter's done, 20 seconds later the next shooter's banging.
Wow.
So yeah. Like the last match I shot, I think we were done by noon. 6 stages. Oh no, 8 stages that last match.
Oh, sweet. So
Yeah.
give us an example of what's the stage like?
I don't like. There'll be a tire, and you can only shoot from the tire 6 targets from 200 to 1,000 yards or something like that.
Are they steel
1,000
targets?
yards?
Yeah, all still.
Okay.
Yep.
How big are these steel at 1,000 yards? I mean,
1 MOA to 2 MOA, so 10 inches to 20 inches. Something on there. Yeah, nothing crazy.
I mean,
And
I judge everything at like 25 yards max. So I mean, that seems pretty crazy to me.
and you're under some sort of a time limit and a round count limit?
Yeah, so you can only. It's not like USPSA where it's like Comstock. It's if it's 10 rounds, that's all you can shoot is 10 rounds. And then the time
Do they ever
wait a
give you
minute.
extra rounds? Like you need 10 hits, but you get to shoot 12 rounds at it, or do they?
I haven't seen it yet. Not saying
Oh,
it's
okay.
not. But and then like normally it's like 1.5 to 2 minutes, which for me that's hard because like USPSA 30 seconds is really long. So my internal clock's always like telling me I'm going way too slow, and then I finish way too early and have misses.
You're done at 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And everyone else is firing their second shot.
Yeah. But it's a downfall for me because I end up rushing stuff and just end up with misses.
So one shooter at a time on the stage, I'm guessing, because you're shooting at the same
Yeah.
steel targets, right?
Yep.
But you get 2 minutes. So, I mean, that's not, like you said, once you're done, 20 seconds later, the next guy's on the clock already, right?
Yeah, however long for you to pick up your brass and the next guy to get there is when the next guy's shooting.
Everyone wants to keep that brass on. I was watching a 9-hole review thing where they were talking about the Zulu War with the British, and they had their rifles, and then they were talking about the accuracy because these were cartridged rifles, but they were still black powder. And they were like saying like, well, you want to be able to keep all the at like 500 yards, like the target that all the soldiers were shooting at with their iron sights was like 12 by 12 feet. Like it was just like this gigantic target. Well, you want to hit like, hey, look over there. There's 57 guys standing right next to each other, shoulder to shoulder, and they're like 3 rows back. It's like, okay, a 12 by 12 target, like you can shoot it at like 400 or 500 yards and like
You're gonna hit something.
hit one of those guys. That's accuracy. And so, but they were like talking about like the way that they would grade accuracy for back in that time and back in that period. But like at what was it, like at 200 yards, it was pretty much like a 2 or 3 foot square that they were trying to like hold these shots in there. And then of course, as the gun shot, it would foul incredibly hard. So you would actually get way and way less accuracy. Like, hey, you're 7 shots in. It's time to get that patch through that gun to clean it up so you can get that 1 foot tighter of a group that you were looking for. So, yeah.
No, these are the same people that use the 1,000-yard ladder sights. Like, well, that's just
Yeah.
optimistic now, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like I like having. I just leave the chronograph in the car now because anytime I go out shooting, I just like to have the chronograph so I can just pull it out and do something with it. But it's like the things that you're afraid that people would shoot your chronograph with. It's like here's this black powder thing. It's like no, don't shoot no, you're not shooting that through my chronograph. No, thank you. But I would just like to see the extreme deviation. It was like, wow, this one was only 112 feet per second slower than the previous one. Try the next one. Wow, that one's 300 feet faster. That's amazing. Next one. It's just, craziness.
Sulfur, saltpeter, and charcoal. You can make it in your backyard.
Well, if you want consistency, your waistline might change, but the quality of the belt you put around it will not. Head on over to dominatedefense.com and get a fantastic belt. There's Mach 1 speed belt. Look at that. It's all set up. I do have one complaint about the Mach 1 is when you have a holster that you have to thread through the belt, you have to take off the damn attachment and thread it off.
Frickin' wham.
I know.
Better holster.
Every 7 months I have to do it. But anyways, it's a fantastic.
Every 7 months, he has to undo 2 screws.
Yeah, like this. I even used my fat wrench to do it because it was the closest screwdriver handy. Anyway, so check that out. Head on over there. Use promo code PARA10. Save 10% off the finest belts in the industry. You can also use promo code PUPRO10 and save 10% off Gallant bullets off your first order. And you can head over to Precision Holsters and use promo code PARA10 and save 10% off. They're a fantastic fast holster. PHAST holster. It's fantastic. Robert, Telegram, Robert, he reads Read face you speak. Go.
From Alex Mansfield, coming in hot with all the questions. What are your thoughts on the bylaw changes?
So I saw that the email that there was the bylaw changes, but my lunch break ended, so I didn't finish reading what the changes were. Something about the president elections.
Well, that's a separate announcement that they're going to have a special election.
Oh. So what were the changes?
To be really honest with you, I actually didn't pay much of attention because I kind of don't care.
Yeah, I didn't read them.
I think this is going to be a reoccurring theme among the overwhelming majority of the people that shoot USPSA. They neither care nor read about it, nor get involved with all the drama that happens at a national level. People
Did they
just want to
establish
show up
that?
at a local match and have a great time with their buddies.
Yep.
Did they split the president position into two different positions?
That did happen. The president is going to be basically the figurehead, and they'll have an executive director, similar to what they did before Strader screwed everything up.
The Wayne LaPierre position? Is that what it is? Like, listen, I'm not the president. I'm just in charge of everything special.
Yeah, pretty much. It is really funny to me, though. I mean, there's a lot of people. I don't know if it's a lot of people. It's kind of the vocal minority, or maybe it's the vocal semi-majority. I don't know. There's a vocal contingent of people that are just so up in arms about this idea that USPSA would want to change, and I get it, because I mean, in a lot of cases, they've had area directors who have been less than ideal, and we went from Strader, who had his host of problems, to Foley, which created a whole bigger host of problems. And now the board's like, well, okay, let's go back and take the power out of the president to make all of these decisions and put it back to the area directors. So I don't know. I mean, I just, in all this stuff happening, I'm just sitting here and I'm like, okay, well, all these things changed, but fundamentally, Steve, Tommy, Kenny, we're going to show up at Slipsa and we're going to shoot a match. We're going to have a great time, and we're not going to care. We're just going to go shoot. So what does it really matter functionally?
We will see.
Yeah,
We will see. If we have a bunch more Foley-like rule changes and the sport gets sillier and sillier, then
well,
it can't get any sillier for me. I started shooting carry optics.
Stop that, though.
I can't get any more sillier. I jumped ship. I jumped ship from rules, and I went to the no rules division. What's the rules in this division?
Hey, don't
Put
worry,
it out on your gun.
Steve and I still shoot man guns.
This box has to be this big. Number one rule: make this box right here. Don't make it any bigger.
Look, Kenny, I got one. See, look, like back.
Oh,
in the old
whatever.
days,
Whatever.
I had these things that people look through. Hang on, I got.
Yes.
There you go. 2 hands to hold this one up.
the Nazi posty thing on the top of the gun that they used to make.
I'll have you guys know, for all you notch and post people, I haven't left you. In fact, I was looking at 1911s. I was thinking about buying.
Well, I mean, that's about the speed of notch and post, right?
Oh,
you got to go with a 110-year-old design.
Tommy.
I was gonna go with the
I
one.
I'll go you one better, Tommy. Before I switched over to carry optics, I wasn't looking at the sights then either. So take that.
Robert Sights. Where licks his thumb, puts it up to the wind. I'll hold left. I'll index left. Yeah.
And if you looked at the scorecard, you would generally agree that was how I shot.
I'll get a brass bead front. That's how old school I'll get.
Yeah.
So.
Some Heine straight eights.
Next question, Robert.
Hang on here. Spits out. Has anyone besides Robert, who we know he's hoarding all the components, had to change powders or bullets due to availability? If so, what?
I haven't changed bullets. I've been able to find tight group. It pops up at the Sportsman's Warehouse. That seems to be the deal. And I've been able to get primers. So, I mean, we did hop on. Me and Steve did hop on an order of bullets which were plated, which happened to
those Rainiers. Those were nice, right?
Well, they were Everglades. Everglades at 6.9 cents a pop, and so
that's a great deal.
Well, and the other thing is, it was such a great coincidence because it worked perfectly with tight group, and so I didn't have to really change anything because the amount of tight group that I had saved up just happened to coincide with that stuff, and so it's fantastic.
Are you still buying tight group when you see it, or
Yeah,
you got
I'll still
plenty?
buy it. Well, the one thing is, I don't notice any of the leading issues, especially within the bigger bullets. So
Yeah.
right now, like tight group, 230 grain bullet with 4.9 grains or 5 grains of tight group doesn't seem to show any problems of leading. And so I just pour that thing in and I just watch that brass. And you know what? Thank goodness. Thank goodness I got these bins before I started loading 45, because I'll tell you what, you get a whole lot less done per bin when you're loading 45. It's ridiculous. It's so heavy. I was showing my little nieces and nephews. They're like, "Can we see a bullet?" And I was like, "Here's a bullet." And they dropped one on their foot, and it hurt them because it's heavy.
If you don't shoot, you don't gotta change components. So
There you
I like
go.
the way you think,
trick
sir.
right there.
Where you go. And I found Kenny some Stabal, so he's
Oh yeah.
I still got that Winchester 231 down there. I got to use. I got like 2 pounds
What
of
the
that.
hell is Stabal?
Stay ball 6.5. It's a rifle powder.
Oh, okay.
I just saw it in there. Like this was at the like March of last year, and I was just like, well, they got something for somebody, and I was just like 6'5", and I was like, Tyrell, you have a 6'5"? He goes, yeah. He's like, do you use the ball? And I think he was like, no. And I was like, Kenny, do you use the ball? And he's like, yes. And so I just bought it. So just trying to figure out.
How much is powder going for these days? Like a pound of powder?
It's basically $32 a pound from the store.
Wow.
Jeez. If you buy a pound at a time?
If you buy a pound at a time. Sometimes online,
Ouch.
well,
God.
the difference is like basically if you go out, you can find tight group sometimes for like what the listed price is like 160 or 170 per 8 pounds. But then that's without the hazmat charges topped up
yeah.
on top of it. And so basically, if you can find it in anything you can find in store without having to deal with the hazmat and shipping fees, you're pretty much saving right there. But eventually, hopefully it'll come back down. Hopefully the story about this primer manufacturer starting up again.
That's vaporware.
Yeah. Well, the other part,
it's vaporware.
the other part that I would worry about people starting up primer companies is that they're starting it up and getting the investments on what the current price of primers are. It's not like, hey, we're going to start a new primer company and charge what we used to charge. It's like, no, we're going to spend all this $1 million and we're going to charge $67 per thousand. That'll be the
Yep.
where we're saving you. So,
Robert, you haven't run out of anything, have you?
No, definitely not.
but you put a hole in that because you haven't bought anything, but you still kind of shot.
Yeah, I'm down, but I've got so much powder, I'll never go through all that. Right before it really got crazy, like Prima V, which is the powder I went to, it kind of went out of stock for a while, and then my buddy sent me this message saying, "Hey, Prima V's back in stock," and I bought like 50 pounds of the stuff. Well, it's more than 50 pounds because it was 1.1 pounds. It was a kilo, but it doesn't matter. I bought all of it that I could get my hands on, and so I'll be sitting on that for a long time.
Yeah.
But as far as primers, I'm sitting on the primers, and I'm glad that I have what I have. I've been using all my Federals. Federal's not my favorite because they take up a lot of space, and so I'm just getting rid of those.
What's your work
Primers
schedule,
take
Robert?
up a lot of space in your house. The primer boxes.
The primer boxes. That's literally why.
Boy, that's a great problem to have. That's great.
My work schedule. I'm now working from home for the foreseeable future, Kenny. So come and take it. Between you and the ATFC, I don't have a dog, so I mean,
Remember, if you get robbed by someone and they refuse to speak, you know them.
The only thing I ran out, the only thing I ran out of was bullets. I'm down to like my last 600 gallons, and I put in a 20,000 order of those
Everglades.
Everglades ammo.
I'll tell you what. When it starts coming back up, I'll definitely stock up on primers. But I will be like, I wish I had 24 pounds of unique. That's what I wish I had, because the funny thing is about unique is that unlike tight group, so like unique's pretty good across all types of bullets, like lead bullets, coated bullets, plated bullets. But then it's also good for like making like hot, like self-defense loads if you want to make a hot kind of like.
I've got 14 pounds of unique.
I'll buy it off you for like 147s, and then like it's very good for like all this other stuff. And so even though like tight group and sport pistol and all that other stuff is great powder, like I think for my emergency case, I'll just have like a bunch of like Unique hanging by because it's just a great powder.
You can't go wrong with Unique. I still maintain it's probably the best do-all powder out there. It just works for everything. It's so good. It's dirty as all get up. I mean, for sure, but gosh darn it, if the stuff doesn't just, you can load anything with it.
Yeah, and so
you can load hot, you can load them light. It's great.
Yeah, just grab, like, everyone do yourself a favor and buy a bunch of Bullseye and Unique, and I think just to have 8, 16 pounds put away for a rainy day, and when you put it in a 45 case, you can actually trust it that it's in there.
This is true. From Sebastian Munoz, what's the best squad to be on for USPSA Utah State Championship match this coming year? As we told him in the chat, shoot on Friday with all of us who actually are going to work the match. I promise you'll have a much better time, and we make it worth your while because we don't actually honor the 5-minute rule. Let's see, from Sean Edmonds, thoughts on the CSR guy getting arrested, the auto sear card guy. I actually asked him who this was. He said, Google Matthew Hoover of CRS Firearms. Apparently this dude made like an auto sear, a card that could be turned into an auto sear, like the old oh gosh dang it, what, the lightning links back in the olden days. And I guess the alcohol, tobacco, and firearms idiots went and raided him and arrested him.
This is the California guy, correct?
I think I'm not sure. I looked it up just a little bit. I don't know tons about it. I am a little bit upset that I didn't find out about this thing until now, because I would have bought a lot, because that would have been cool.
Yeah. Well, the ATF.
Why I'm just going to put this out here. Okay, for all you people listening to this, if you're ever in a situation in life and you hear about a company that is making things that the ATF doesn't like, I highly encourage you to buy it then. Immediately buy it then, because they're going to go through like this discovery phase and like this point where the ATF says, hey, we think this is illegal, and they say it's not. Buy it at that point, because if you do, and then the ATF like comes in and says, hey, we think this is a machine gun, well, then you can go on a boat ride and lose it.
Well, the one thing is, like, it's on serial. I wonder why all the people who are making like binary triggers and stuff like this at this point have not fully embraced cryptocurrency. You think if you were in this bin, you'd be like, oh yeah, we sell them, we ship them to your door, we only take Bitcoin. Like at that point, it'd be like, because like what's the like? Well, they're gonna run through the damn visas like everything like else, and like they had that memo that was coming up. It's like, we're gonna go to stores and we're gonna go to these places, we're gonna confiscate them, but they're not machine guns. They're just binary triggers. Like they don't meet the definitions. And so
That's why, I mean, you should go out and buy one of those rare breed triggers. I mean, it's a forced reset trigger. I mean, it is by all definition and legal law that the ATF established. Well, they don't actually write the law, but how they define the law. It's a semi-automatic. It takes another trigger pull to fire, but the ATF right now is saying, "Oh no, that's a machine gun," and they're using these arbitrary claims to say so, which means that you potentially could have a gun that's going to let you fire around really, really quickly, but the ATF doesn't want it. And as a general rule in life, if the government says I shouldn't have something, I generally want that something.
Well,
what's this other trigger you're talking about, Robert?
It's from Rare Breed Triggers. It's a forced reset trigger. How it works is when the when you cycle the gun fires, right? And get my out of the way. So the gun fires, and how the forced reset works is when the bolt goes back in, it forces you to reset the trigger.
It pushes your finger forward a little bit.
Pushes your finger forward, and as long as you maintain a tiny bit of pressure on the trigger, it'll fire again. But the second that you take your finger off, it still is a semi-auto trigger. It's no different from any binary trigger out there. It just happens to work different.
Well, it doesn't fire on release.
It doesn't fire on release.
It fires on a second press, but the second press is
still a semi-automatic.
By virtue
defined-
of you maintaining pressure on the trigger and it resetting, pushing your fingers forward slightly.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. I looked
Yeah.
up a picture of this CRS auto key card, and it looks like there's some sheets of stainless steel with a. It looks kind of. I mean, I
It
can't
looks a
remember
lot like
exactly
a
what a
lightning
lightning
link,
link.
doesn't it?
It looks a lot like a lightning link. I don't remember exactly. There's kind of two pieces to it though.
Yeah,
It looks like there's a little.
That's similar to a lightning link because
Okay.
it had that little device in there. The funny thing is, anybody can go make a lightning link. There's, I mean,
Oh yeah, you
the-
could
the
file one
plans are
out
online.
of. You could file one in a half a day with nothing, just a
Oh yeah.
piece of metal on a file.
I mean, if you have a 3D printer right now, you can absolutely make you can make an auto. What do they call that thing? It's basically
Like an
it-
auto sear, or
essentially, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, hit me up if you want the plans. No, just kidding.
Well, the one thing that I think is so funny is like, you have all these like companies that are in the ATF's ire, especially like a lot of the 80% guys. Like at one point, they're just going to be like full on like F it. Like here you go, here's a jig. Look, it has an extra hole where you can mill out the receiver for a third pin. Like go F yourselves. We'll take Bitcoin. But
Well, I mean, fundamentally, I'm still of the belief that every single gun law is an infringement. I despise the idea that the ATF even exists. I don't think they bring any value to the world.
well, I just don't like that they're going after the downline of the manufacturers. So they're going to the manufacturers now. They're like going to places who bought inventory and saying like turn it over or like basically face prosecution over it. It's ridiculous. Anyways, we got a bunch of questions. We should move on.
Yeah. Why do people bitch about the cost of a Dominate defense belt, yet they'll drop $10,000 on another Infinity? This is a dang good question.
It's
It's the same people that bitch about a magazine price.
This is true.
you son of a bitch. You hold your tongue. All right. This is quality product. All right. Okay. I can tell the manufacturer when somebody went into a press and folded up. Listen, no one should be able to charge you $100 for anything and then tell you to send it to somewhere else to get it tuned. Okay. When you spend the money on a good Dominate defense belt, it's gonna like this is it. This is what you're gonna have forever. Like no matter what you have, you're gonna want to swap it out and take it with you. And plus the inner belt combo, that inner belt becomes a daily carry belt. You're getting two fantastic belts for the money that do two different jobs. But it's the best thing you got going. Sorry, it is.
It is. It really is the best belt that's on the market right now. But let's see. What would you wish to have as your last meal? That seems ominous after we just talked about the ATF.
Primers, bowl full of primers
Cack.
and milk.
I want milk. I want pineapple juice to chase it down. I want to be able when they basically throw the torch on me, I vomit everywhere. No, you know what I want? I was just like, look, go to In-N-Out and just keep bringing me cheeseburgers. It's really about cheeseburgers, Kenny. It's not about whose cheeseburger. It's just about cheeseburgers. I want an endless amount of cheeseburgers.
It actually matters whose cheeseburger, because an In-N-Out burger is substantially better than, say, a McDonald's burger, and a Hires burger is better than both of those combined.
Yeah,
Which is why you see
You
higher
said
big
In-N-Out
H's on.
burger was better
every
than-
I'm not a hater. The only one that's not allowed is the Whopper. Get that piece of shit out of here. That's like, you know what I would, yeah,
Hey,
you know what I would do?
One
Say, Tommy.
employee doesn't wash his hands one time, and you shit all over the best burger available.
They bring me in a Whopper. I take the plastic spork and shove it down my own throat till I die. Like that's what I would do. I
I
would.
don't even know if it's a Whopper. It might
with-
be a Beyond Whopper.
With a tear in my eye, I look at the bailiff and I say, "There's no justice in this world." I shove the spork in there, snap it off, and it just suffocate and die. That's what happens.
Everyone talks about options on a stage. What is everyone actually talking about? Shooting targets from multiple positions, starting in the middle of the stage, going around a wall to cut a position. What are your favorite options?
Well, the most famous option is you can shoot the targets at the very beginning of the stage, or you can shoot them later in the stage and take a final position, but you have to move up 10 or 15 yards. And so it's your choice whether you want to take 35-yard shots or 20-yard shots. That's a common option. What others?
I like options that reward the skill set of the shooter And so, I mean, what you said, Steve, is a good example of that. Things that you know, you could take you could take these targets while shooting on the move, you know, but maybe throw a partial somewhere in there to, like, you know, hey, you know, you need to know that you're good enough to do this thing to actually take. I like that kind of a thing. I always thought that's really fun because it does open up the idea of, you know, of how good you personally feel your skill set is.
Kenneth?
Yep, that's my favorite too. Is being able to shoot targets from multiple positions, from seeing them from multiple positions. To, you know, people tend to shoot targets.
You mean
times.
memory stages?
No, I'm not saying
No,
memory
no.
stages, but if there's one array of targets that you can see from 3 different positions.
So here's what we're not talking about: the stage that has an array that you have no choice but to shoot through window number 1. You have 6 to 8 shots. Then you go to window number 2, and there are 6 to 8 shots. Then you go to window number 3, and there are 6 to 8 shots. And then window number 4, there are 6 to 8 shots.
We call that classic nationals.
sucks.
No. What happens is nowadays with all the PCC and high capacity is that there's 2 windows that has a piece of tape that goes down the middle of them that separates you from being able to shoot 16 targets from that one port because PCC and but you know it's you could step to the other side of the duct tape and shoot the other eight, but if you're in there and you got enough bullets, you can shoot them. But that's the kind of thing. The funny thing is, though, when I was sitting there thinking about this question, is that so the more you understand the game and the more you understand how fast you have to go through something to get it done, there's actually less and less options. So the better become, the more competitive you become. There's not a whole lot of options left. It's like, listen, the best, fastest ways to do it here: shoot these on the move, make a load here, get to here and shoot these. Can I shoot them over here? It's like, you can. It's an option, but for dumb people. Right? And so it's like, now you guys, like, Robert's plenty good at having, like, we go to a match. I sit there. I'm looking at something I feel like comfortable shooting. Robert tells me I'm an idiot for trying to shoot it that way.
I might be a bit hyperbolic, but this is true.
But, like, it's like, we like options. We like to give options to people who don't know any better.
Yeah. I think,
yeah, you're correct, Tom.
I could be wrong on this, but I think the more advanced and better you get into the game, you start to realize that running the stages differently, like in different ways, don't really matter as much as people think that they do. I mean, you're talking like little bits of time. Now, there is a preferred way to run a stage, but sometimes you'll see like different shooters of general skill level shoot it slightly different, and their times will still be the same.
Yeah,
and I've just kind of noticed that. I mean, even though you do have options on it, you do still kind of like work down into, okay, well, this is really how it's.
You have to go here. You have to shoot these targets, no matter what.
Yeah.
So whether you shoot them right to left or left to right is probably insignificant.
What I think that makes a stage more fun nowadays is just target variety. That's it. It's like all the hosing stuff's not great. Far stuff is cool. Far steel is cool. Close, 10-yard steel is fine. Partial shots are fine. It's putting mini targets on local matches here and there. Like that can be fun. But like when it comes down to options, a lot of times it's like a 35-yard partial piece of steel from the starting position, where you can run 20 yards and engage it at 10 yards, completely open. And
it's just like area 3.
And it's just like, okay, well, like how many knee problems do you have? None. Okay, then you need to run over there.
But I tell you what, I do not like the stages where there's 4 shooting positions and there's just it's just, here's 4 positions, have fun. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying I don't like them. I'm just saying I do like if they build in some options.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if I don't use them, I like them to be there.
Well, here's a good staging tip for everybody. It's like, even if you like, listen, our we don't have a lot of walls, and we have like, okay, in every array, put 2 targets in that array that can be seen from another port. Or put 1 target in that array that can be seen from another port. And then at least when you do that, by spreading them out, you at least have some options for people to engage the target as you want. It's just like, don't lock every array into a box. Don't lock the shooter into a box. It's like,
I really like is in production, I like it when you have the option of shooting to 10 and collapsing a shooting, 2 shooting positions into 1. That's pretty fun.
Yeah, that's fun.
It's challenging. Like you have 1 extra round. If you miss the steal, then you have to either change your plan on the fly or take a mic or something. So
a 10 shot array and a 6 shot array is a cheeseburger in paradise for production. It's just like, that's what I needed.
I think generally I'm not great at it. At the indoor match, honestly, I kind of gotten to a point where I'm starting to run out of ideas, and so you do the best you can. But I've learned that when you put stages together, the best thing you can do is think about them from every single division that likely is going to shoot the match. So obviously, forget about single stack, revolver, and limited 10 because nobody shoots that anymore. Oh well, now in production, but no. But seriously, think about like all the different divisions, and you'll actually start to see it when you think about how those divisions would shoot it, and try and imagine the world from the way that they would create a stage plan. You'll actually find yourself like moving targets around to give people more options on how to shoot it. It's kind of it's a dumb trick, but it's worked really well for me. Let's see. Assuming Kenny didn't die this week, what are Kenny's thoughts on race holsters versus bucket holsters for limited?
So I think 7 years ago or so, race holsters were the way to go in limited, just because you could make them fit your draw perfectly because all the adjustment, the cant, everything. That was the way to go for race holsters, but now that's not true because now you get a race holster mount on a Kydex. So the only difference you're gaining is how much you have to lift the gun, which really isn't. It's 1 inch versus 4 inches, not a huge difference. So now I don't think there's any difference. Shoot what you like, as long as you have a good mounting system that you can get the adjustment proper to where your hand is naturally going to the gun.
Well, what's holsters or that kind of mounting system? Is that what you're saying? Whatever, whatever it would be.
I personally don't like the boss system because it only adjusts really one way. But like the Safari Land, well, you can even get the double alpha one now for a Kydex. Any of those that have the exact same adjustments as a race holster.
Yeah, Thunder and stuff like that. Yeah, the one thing that always bugs me about messing around with like a race holster, like a few years ago, I was going to borrow Kenny's gun to go shoot like Idaho State because they had like a limited day and then like the production the next day. And so I was like going to go do it. And like I had like this like race holsters. It's like, okay, this feels super sketch. Like I can have it locked and then I got to make sure to take it unlocked where I just go and then just like take it out. And so I don't know. I never really see the gigantic advantage of using one, but that's just a naive take on it because I've never put a lot of practice into one.
Well, if I had to buy a new holster, if my double alpha ever wears out or something, I'll go Kydex. Because like I said, now there's a Kydex is more comfortable for sure. In my opinion, is more comfortable, and you have all the adjustment of a race. And then Adam Reiser did a video a while back, Kydex versus race, and the draw difference it's nothing really. I mean, look at some of the production guys ripping out 0.7 draws. Like you're not gaining much in the difference. So you have to lift the gun.
Yep.
At some point, the gun is going up no matter what, whether it starts in the draw or.
So maybe still a race holster in Steel Challenge or something where 100th of a second times 100 draws matters or something.
Yeah, I'm sure for the top Steel Challenge guys, it does matter because they're winning and losing the match by a couple hundreds.
But everywhere else, maybe not obsolete, but not necessary.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, those that have ARs set up for home defense or whatever, are they parts ARs or factory guns? Optics, lights, etc.
So this is kind of funny because I'm on the verge of buying a suppressor for home defense just because firearms are loud, and firearms are really loud in your house. In fact, shooting 22s, having the experience of having to run plenty of stages at the farm with the barn, and there's like people are shooting 22s like, God, what is that thing? Snap, snap, snap. And then having to deal with that is like, I would not like to have my ears bleeding by the end of it. I'll pay the $600. Looking at it, so my guns are my 80% lowers are on 2 different guns, and my factory gun is pretty much like an LMT lower with a Troy upper and a Sig Romeo 4T dot and a Streamlight light on it. So it's got that, and so that's kind of what I do. The 80% lowers, I wouldn't have any problem running the 80% lowers. It's just the guns I already have set up were set up before I had the ability to mill lowers out, but I don't have any problem with it. I think it's fantastic for especially people who want to build 11-inch AR-15s on pistol kits and basically get to do the pistol kits. I don't know why anyone's SBRing anything anymore. It's like you get like those pistol braces and they're like you can knock someone's teeth out and they adjust to the length of pull. It's like they're not stocks, but and so that's what I would do So that's how I have my setup. Streamlight, ProTac, HL. I think HLX.
Albert, you're gonna have to limit your summary to your top 6 ARs.
Robert suppressor,
Only
10-inch
6?
binary trigger.
I think the hardest part if somebody ever breaks into the house is like deciding which gun they're going to get shot with.
Which one are you okay if it gets taken for a while?
Speaking of which, that's how this gun came to be. So I actually did think about that because I was like, if I'm going to shoot somebody in the house, and I don't ever want to, but if I ever am, I mean, what gun am I comfortable with them taking away from me for a limited while? And so I actually built a gun. It's a 10.5. It's got my suppressor on it, but it's a pistol. And I did it just with the idea that if anybody ever took it, then I wouldn't care that much because I sure as heck don't want them taking my SBR. Although Tommy, your point is pretty darn valid. Like, why would you SBR anything anymore? I mean, that whole idea. Although the ATF did try and come after the SBRs, but they kind of got beat on pretty hard.
Yep.
With that whole situation, so who knows whatever is going to happen there? But I like the 10.5. It's got my what is it? The Spec War silencer on it. It works really, really well. You can shoot it indoors, and I have. What's that?
They're not. It's on the verge. Like when you watch all the people at Silencer go test all their suppressors and they have hearing protection on and they're in a big concrete room, it's like
that's what we call a clue.
Yeah. It's like, listen, you can do it.
That will come into play later on.
I mean, if you're shooting like 300 subs, like that's one thing. But if you're shooting a 5.56 rifle, the one thing is like that's the kind of the gun that you should have. It doesn't penetrate as many walls, and honestly, if you mill out your lower piece of aluminum correctly and you put in some mil spec trigger part. Lower parts kit that's like $80. It's like it's kind of what you want. You want something that has like a 6-pound trigger. You want something that it's okay to leave when it gets taken away, not a big deal. And so like a 10-11-inch SBR pistol braced thing, like I think that's kind of the way to go. And I'm leaning more and more into that, building one of those myself.
Let's see. Last question. What are your thoughts on having a USPSA season instead of just individual matches? Shoot Club did one last year, and it was pretty sweet. So just to give you some perspective on it, basically the club they created a season, and so all of the I could be butchering this, but I think I understand the premise of it, where they take all of your matches over the course of like a season. So like from April to say September. And that it all gets kind of added up into the winner, and like all the people who shoot that, they add up to the winner of the club season.
I think that's a great idea, because a lot of people think about seasons as far as like one season per year. But there's a lot of things that are kind of interesting that happens. Like I kind of ran into this with there's a lot of video games that will do like a 3-month season. And so like a season of like stats and accumulation would be like 3 months. So it's like, here's the first season, January through March, and then April through June is season 2. And so like there can be individual winners for those seasons. And so if like you're not able to participate at the level you want to in a season because of other things, you can't make it on Saturday or whatever, then your match is still your club match, but then there's basically an incentive for people to show up consistently and take home a prize or something at the end of the season. As long as it's done well, I think it's kind of a fun idea.
I think so. I think it's just more things to add to the overall fun of your local club matches.
Well,
and if you, yeah,
I think what it could be too is for like a lot of clubs that don't want to do this and want to invest in divisions that they kind of would like to see like more participation in, and especially for people who like to do it, it's like,
oh, that's true.
I would like to see like we're having one season and it's single stack season for the next 3 months. Seasonal progress will be tracked in single stack. You want to shoot open, you want to shoot carry optics. Hey, it's no different than the USPSA you shot before. But for this 3 months, like there's people who are going to be collecting season points, shooting single stack against each other. And I think at that point, you could have it like production, you could have a PCC. And so the people who want to have a season that they're just going to shoot something that's fun, they have that ability to do so.
Yeah.
So I've heard of this. Remember the Power Factor show talked about it? Like a group of clubs had a seasonal match.
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't, I don't know. But you had to show up to so many clubs and shoot so many matches, and then your scores kind of combined, and that had winners at the end of the season. I wonder why we don't. I mean, a club could have it, or a group of clubs in an area could have it.
Your section could do it.
Your section could do it.
Gary Hansen did that here 3 years ago.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, I think it was 2 years ago. Well, it might have been just before COVID all hit. And the idea was to get people to go travel to some of the other matches and things like that.
Yeah, so it's 2 slips of matches, 2 caps matches, 2 LTD matches, and it was your 5 best matches counted for score.
Yeah.
I thought it was entertaining, but I enjoyed shooting all the matches.
Yeah.
Yeah. It certainly rewards people who are willing to go to all the matches. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, I think it'd be fun if there was just a certain cup that you would have between 3 or 4 clubs that went there and did it. Like, just I think it gets the more you add to it, the less it means. So like the more divisions you make it, the more matches and stuff you make it, it's harder for people to participate, and then it's watered down throughout. So I think if literally the narrower you make the scope of something like that, the funner it can become.
I think one of the things you can do with it that would keep it fun and entertaining, and it would actually bring a lot of like buy-in, is if you had your standard USPSA divisions, and you say, okay, from April till probably October in the case of Utah, because that's generally when the season sort of ends, like with nationals and everything like that. We're going to track all your points, and then in the middle of October, we're going to have basically the award. We'll figure it out. We'll like put a dinner together or something like that, and everybody come. We'll have a great time, and we'll make this into a thing. I mean, depending on the level that you want to take that, it offers a lot of, I guess you'd say, buy-in for the club and for the people who are part of the club, because now you have everybody in the club. Okay, we're all looking forward to this big award dinner kind of thing at the end of the year. It's going to be fun. And it encourages people to go out and shoot divisions that, like, honestly, I bet if you did that, you would see a lot more people shooting production. I think you'd see people show up shooting revolver, single stack, a lot of those other divisions, because people,
No way.
they like
They
awards.
have dots. They can't even use.
They can't go back. What are they supposed to do? Brew their coffee in a pot, Robert? You maniac!
I think if you award something, it will incentivize.
Yeah.
It will incentivize participation. I really do, and I see it as an upside, because it creates this club camaraderie that you don't necessarily have right now. Because, I mean, right now people view SLPSA, for example, as, well, that's the place that I go on weekends 2 and 3 to shoot a match. There's not a lot of club buy-in. We always talk about like volunteerism and all these other things. When you have this known fixed point of, this is when the end of the season is going to be, we're going to have an award dinner, we're going to recognize all the volunteers, all the people, we're going to make this a big deal. People, they start getting a lot more involved in stuff like that, because they're now a part of something.
I would just absolutely love 3-month competition of L10. When you think about it, it would be the funnest thing, because you could take your production gun, you could take your limited gun, you could take any gun that you possibly had, basically knock off a comp, knock off a site, and everyone would compete in kind of a single stack production, limited, kind of like 10-round, 3-month challenge. I think that would
Let's do a PARAcast 3-month challenge, Tom. Let's do
a PARAcast L10 challenge. I am super down.
I can download my limited mags.
Hey, I can still shoot iron sights. So
we'll see.
We'll see. Like I could before. Anyways, thanks for downloading, listening, and subscribing. Thanks for doing all the things that make you people wonderful and special in our eyes. Well, not really our eyes, in your eyes, because you can see us. We really can't see you. So anyway, thanks for doing all that jazz. For Steve Koski, Robert Wyatt, and Kenny Terry, I'm Tom Nelson, bidding you peace, love, and soul as we depart into the open waters of the sea of life on a little tugboat we refer to or call the PARAcast.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Good night, everybody.
Toot toot.